This is the first time a Clint Eastwood film had been entered in competition, and so, not perhaps coincidentally, it was also Mr. Eastwood's first visit to Cannes. At his press conference, he was questioned less than subtly by some of the loftier French critics, one of whom asked how Clint had had the nerve to bring such a commercial film to Cannes. He was derisively and properly booed. And Mr. Eastwood replied reasonably that if producers and directors only made films for themselves, nobody else would go to the cinema. He was then asked the most puzzling question.
Now, you could have synopsisized that one.
What's that?
He said, if he has the feeling that in the second part the marshal could be the father of the leading man, by killing him, don't you sort of try to kill the image of your father, Sergio Leone?
Well, Sergio and I are both the same age. And if he's my father, then he conceived me at a very young period of his life.
Back in the harbour, where he'd taken up residence on a yacht at the quayside next to the Palais, he responded not at all unhappily to the advances of the girl next door.
You can come join me, and if you want, this show reaches a wide variety of audiences. We could...
When she had gone, beaming contentedly on her way, I asked Mr. Eastwood why he'd chosen now to make a Western.
It's been 9 years for me since The Outlaw Josie Wales, but I've missed the Western. I've missed not seeing one and missed not being in one for the last few years, so I decided I had this script, and I decided I'd like to try it. There's no real reason why not to do anything. If there's no such thing as, to me, there's no such thing as genre patterns. I think you just try to capture the imagination with a show.
How exactly then did Pale Rider come about?
The two writers I know, Dennis Schrack and Michael Butler, who wrote The Gauntlet, a film I did some years back, asked if they could write one on spec with me in mind. Would I be interested? And I said yes, I'd be very interested. And so we sat down and talked about what we'd like to see and kicked around some ideas, made some notes, and they came back with this particular story. And we just polished it up a little bit. And then I put it on the shelf because I had some other things to do over the last few years, and then finally decided this last summer I'd like to do it.
Was it you who was responsible for the kind of mystical and supernatural element in the film?
Well, I like that. I like allegorical films, and I've done them before, touched on them before. Playing the loner coming into town, I've played many times before, but as far as the allegorical style, I like that a lot. The High Plains Drifter and other films.
Well, in a sense, this was almost like the return of the High Plains Drifter, wasn't it?
Well, except he's a different kind of character completely. The High Plains Drifter was much more of a cynical character and much more a vengeful character coming back to persecute this town for their complacency and the death of the sheriff. And this picture, he's like an emissary from somewhere to answer this girl's prayer, emissary from wherever.
He's almost like the one horseman of the apocalypse.
Yeah,
really.
he is. He's the pale rider of the pale horse, the fourth horseman of the apocalypse.
Where do you think the guy came from, the preacher?
Well, I think he's either he's a reincarnation or not a reincarnation of a preacher who was killed by the force of evil, the marshal in the story, who was sent to defend or to help the large corporate miners.
But he's very like the other characters you played in that he is the lone strong man who comes along and helps the weak. I mean, that's a sort of theme, really, in your westerns, isn't it?
It is in some of them, yeah. High Plains Drifter, I think the lone man came along and persecuted. Well, he did help the weak, but he persecuted the weak also, who were weak of will. But he helped the less fortunate.